Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. Now I feel like I'm really bad with showing my personality on this channel and I'm trying to be a little bit more open and a little better at doing that. So I wanted to do one of my favorite videos to watch. Personally, I love three types of video content. I love a little British gamer on YouTube. Unfortunately, I am in love with Mr. Television. We can talk about it later. I love watching a good vlog. Following that up, I love watching a good spooky, paranormal, or commentary video. Today we are going to be doing a little spooky commentary video itself. Fall is by far my favorite season. I absolutely love fall. Halloween, I would say, is my favorite holiday if I'm being honest. I love being able to dress up. I love the decorations. I love the aesthetic of the season and the holiday. But this year I've had a really hard time getting into a fall spirit. I think it's been a mix of the weather hasn't been that cold as well as I don't know, I work all the time. I haven't felt the Halloween spooky spirit, so today I really wanted to read some scary ghost stories together. Now, I'm not going to lie, these are not my ghost stories. These are stories that I did find on Reddit. I will have all of the Reddit stories linked down below if you want to go support the original post or if you want to interact with it. Obviously, these stories are not my own, but I just love listening to scary ghost stories. Personally, I believe in ghosts 100%. I think there is so much about this universe that we do not know as humans, and I think it would be really dumb to say like ghosts or even aliens can exist. I kind of look at them in a similar mindset. And so yeah, today we're going to be reading some ghosty paranormal stories. I am to my core a Sam and Colby girl, but also to my core I'm a little bitch. So I will probably never go ghost hunting, but this is as close as we're going to get. So yes, without further ado, let's get into the ghost stories. Actually, before we get into the ghost stories, I wanted to talk about if I've had any little haunting experiences, any ghost stories of my own. I haven't actually had my own ghost story or experience. I will say my mom is like a very heavy believer that our house is haunted. She likes to say that she's seen this ghost of this older lady who was in like a colonial or Victorian era dress in the living room. I don't know. I think she just used that as a story to scare me into going to bed, but it worked nonetheless. I love listening to these stories, but I like it because I'm taken away from it. I'm a little excluded from it just seeing it on a screen. So now getting into the stories. This first story is from a Reddit user on the r/ghost stories, and it is titled Hide and Seek. My wife and I have been renting our house for the past 2 years. Sparingly throughout our tenure, we have heard running in the attic, bangs on the ceiling of the basement. I've seen shadows following me. Jesus girl, I've seen shadows following me. We have heard full conversations outside of our bedroom window, locks on our doors be changed, and other odds and ends which have given us the spooks. I'm hearing things move upstairs as I'm typing this. Girl, what the? Yesterday, it seemingly intensified. When I got home from work, I came home to greet my wife and 2 daughters. The kids were napping and we decided to play Fortnite to take advantage of the opportunity. Hey, side note, nothing to do with the story, but I've recently gotten into gaming.
Oh, careful.
There's a magnifying glass right here.
Watch out, Chelsea! No!
If there are any video games that are fun or funny to watch people make gameplays of, please let me know because I really want to do a video of me playing games. When the kids woke up, all was well. We had snack time and enjoyed our night together. As the night was coming to a close, my oldest, 2, wanted to play a new game she had just learned. Hide and seek. She's very good at running away from us and hiding when things don't go her way, but not while we play hide and seek. When it's her turn to hide, she likes to peek around the corner and watch me count and cutely lets me find her immediately. But she can never find me. She always runs to her room first and goes to bed, one of her usual spots that will find her. We have no clue where she learned what hide and seek is and how to play it. She's been infatuated with playing it for the last week. Maybe she'll get better at it. Maybe I've seen too many scary movies, but it still gives me the creeps wondering where she learned the game. Another weird experience happened later that night when it was time for the girls to go to bed. I was on my way back to get my oldest changed and ready for bed when my wife said she's by the curtains, as she had saw her walk in and they were visible from where she was sitting. I looked and didn't see her there, but she had crawled out from behind our recliner across the room. When I brought her in to change her, my wife had a petrified look on her face. She said she was staring at me with a blank face and stared at me for 10 seconds and then went by the curtain to the corner as you were walking out. I don't know if I just can't visualize that. Was she saying that there was like a second Kid, I don't know what's going on. I went downstairs about an hour ago to fluff our laundry in the dryer. 4 bottles of detergent and fabric softener, along with a couple other things we keep on the top of our dryer, have all been knocked down. These items were all standing straight up on the ground except for the laundry detergent, which has been knocked over and spilled all over the ground. I was pissed because I thought our cat may have knocked it off since he likes to sit on it and look out the window. But after discussing with my wife, she was down there last. Our cat had been in our room all night and all of our items were on the dryer. I went upstairs to show her what had happened, and 3 of the items were back on top of the dryer and 1 was knocked over on the ground. We had yelled out, "Is anyone down here?" multiple times and had searched the whole basement to no avail. We decided whatever it was downstairs and we were safe as long as the door was locked. We decided to head to bed, and as we were walking to our room, we heard in a small girl's voice, "Hey," coming from our kitchen. What the Now we are waiting to see what happens, but we'll update as time goes by. I feel like for most of the things in that post, they could probably be written off. Having kids, moving throughout the house, and having a cat, like the things falling could be written off just by them. I think it'd be a little bit different if like it was just this person and their significant other, or just someone living alone in an apartment and that happened. But that is still creepy nonetheless. Personally, I think I would be fine in like a scary movie situation. I don't think I would die because I never answer my phone. You can't get me to reply to a text or a call. I never answer my front door. If someone's knocking at my front door, I'm not going to answer. If you need to get a hold of me, you will have contact to get a hold of me. So yeah, I think I'd be fine in a scary movie. And 3, I don't have a basement, so like they can't drag me down the fucking staircase. This next story is on r/paranormal, and it is titled "A Very Weird Encounter with My Mother." I've had Reddit for a few months now, but it somehow just occurred to me while reading and listening to some stories here that actually I have one that I could share. I don't know if this counts explicitly as paranormal. It certainly wasn't a ghost in the normal sense. My mother is still alive and well to this day and was in fine health when this took place. This is kind of scaring the out of me because what do you mean you had a weird encounter with someone who's like alive and good? When I was like 8 or 9ish, I regularly stayed up late. I still do. I think it had something to do with usually listening to my parents fighting and the fact that I was on edge when they were both in the house. That bit isn't important. What is important is that this was another night I was up late, or late for a child. So it was like 10 or 11. I had a TV in my room that I was watching, just hanging out on the bed next to my heavily sleeping sister. I think I must have gotten a feeling I was being watched, so I looked over my shoulder and saw my mom standing over me. Bitch, what the? See, what's bad is I'm picturing, like I'm imagining this happening to me. That's terrifying. I still remember this like it could have been yesterday. It's such a clear thing in my mind, and it makes me sure that I did experience it, that I wasn't dreaming. Her face was blank. Not literally, but there was absolutely nothing in her eyes. She wasn't smiling at me or frowning even. Her face was neutral as it possibly could be, and her eyes looked empty. It wasn't like she was looking through me, but she was definitely looking at me. I remember already feeling weirdly uneasy at this. I think partly because I hadn't seen her come in. The TV, while I was definitely watching it, was basically next to the door. I would have seen her come in. But I assumed she was upset because I was up so late. I had been caught staying up late before, and I never ever missed seeing or hearing her or my dad coming upstairs before entering my room. I wish I could remember what I said, but I know that I tried to speak to her. She didn't respond at all, and now that I'm putting this to words properly, I don't think I recall her blinking even once. I tried a few times to get a reply, but every time all she did was stare at me with that terrible empty look. At some point, I hid under the covers, and I remember peeking out a few times to see her still looking at me, face unchanged. I think this is probably a sleepwalking story. That's gotta be what this is. At some point, I hid under the covers, and I remember peeking out a few times to see her still looking at me, face unchanged. Then I turned to look at my sister, uncovered by the blankets, and I remember wishing that I could do something to hide her too. Couldn't will myself to move because I was so afraid, and I certainly did not want to come out from under the covers. When I looked back, my mother wasn't there. I never heard her leave. The TV had gone black, but not off. It was like it was on a blank screen, which was weird because I know it played shows constantly all night, and it had never been playing this blank screen before or after this. I stayed under the covers until I somehow fell asleep. I don't know how long I was asleep for. Obviously, I asked my mom in the morning what the hell she was doing, and I distinctively remember this one, why she hadn't answered me. Of course, she had no idea what I was talking about. She said she hadn't come up to see us or was woken up at all the night before. I seriously doubt it was me dreaming or her sleepwalking. It was so real, and while I recognize that sometimes dreams are like that, mine are never so grounded in reality, and I just have such a strong feeling about this. She's never sleepwalked, not before or after this story, and to this day, I think it's the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. I haven't brought it up to her in years, but now that I write it down, I'm tempted. I 100% do think that was just sleepwalking. I don't sleepwalk a lot, but it would be a lie to say I don't sleepwalk at all. So I used to live with my sister and her now husband. There was one night, this really only happens when I am super exhausted. It will happen. But there was one night where he was up really late playing video games and he was basically in the kitchen. I basically opened up the door of my room in the apartment. I stood at the door, just stared at him. And then I turned around and went back to bed. He tried talking to me. I didn't respond to him. And I did not remember any of it. It only happens when I'm like really exhausted or really stressed out. But that could be an explanation of why the mom doesn't remember it or know what happened. I have no clue about the TV, but I also do think that sometimes when things like this happen, you're just so scared that you're kind of looking at any little thing to make it feel more scary, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm not sure if that was actually anything paranormal, but this next story is on r/paranormal, and this is titled, I saw a Victorian woman cross the street in the middle of the night. This just happened about an hour ago, and I wanted to tell someone. So my friend and I went to town to eat tonight, and we live in a medium-sized town. That, and it being a Monday night, it was pretty quiet. When we walked out, it was about 9 p.m., so it was pretty dark, and we decided to have a little photo shoot, which is the epitome of living in a small town. Literally, the only things you can do in a small town are go to a Walmart or Target or have a random photo shoot in a park. Our town is very historic with lots of alleys, and there's this one building that's pretty famous in our area, an opera house, since it was built in the 1830s and designed by a famous historic architect. It also happens to be considered one of the most haunted buildings in the state. People have said to have seen figures walking inside and outside. The opera house was very luxurious at the time it was built and the place where all of the rich people went. While my friend and I were taking some pictures of me, I saw someone walk out of the alley and cross the street. It was dark enough that I mostly saw their silhouette out of the corner of my eye, but when they were about halfway, I noticed something and looked closer. It was a woman dressed in a Victorian dress. Her hair was in a style from that era as well, and she just looked like a wealthy Victorian woman. She didn't look as she crossed the street, only had her shoulders back and her head high as she crossed, not acknowledging us at all. She lifted her dress when she stepped up on the curb. My friend noticed the scared look on my face and turned to see what I was looking at, but by the time she turned, the woman was already behind the building that happened to be the opera house. I told her what I saw, and we decided to walk around to the front of the opera house to see if there was a show or something, maybe a reenactment. It was closed, and it wasn't terrifying, but cool because we had grown up hearing stories of ghosts in and around that building. I remember we even went on a field trip there in elementary school, which is crazy. Why are you taking a bunch of elementary school aged kids to a haunted building? I know what you're thinking, but unfortunately we didn't get any pictures. We looked through all of the ones that we took, but they were facing the other way. Anyways, just wanted to share. And then there's an edit talking about the entrances to the opera house. I have no explanation for that at all. That is really creepy. And the last post I actually was going to read was about a shadow figure, but that post got taken down, so I don't have the story to read. So I guess that's the end of this video and me reading random scary stories. I'm curious if anyone watching this has ever had like a paranormal or scary experience happen to them. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I will be back with another vlog or book related video very, very soon. I love you. Thank you for watching.